Welcome along then to the Belgian Grand Prix, the race that gave us the maiden victory for the Jordan team in 1998. And in the same team, the phenomenal debut of a young Michael Schumacher. There's always something special around one of the many corners of this fan-favourite circuit.
Now that must have been the most fitting commentary intro ever from Crofty there, because in today's video we are driving as this man and legend Michael Schumacher, and we're going to be taking a number 32 Ferrari car around the Belgian Grand Prix, and we're going to see how we do against Lewis Hamilton. We're both going to be starting from the back of the grid, and this is going to be a 100% race around Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix. Seeing as this year's special edition of the Formula 1 game was the Schumacher edition, I thought it'd be kind of nice and fitting to do a race as Schumacher, as he's one of the selectable characters you can create for your My Team or normal career mode, and even use in multiplayer, and so we can use his likeness and we can be in the Ferrari. Number 32 is a nice nod to his debut here at the Belgian Grand Prix, and we can go toe-to-toe, well, that's the hope, with Hamilton. We're starting both on the last row of the grid at the back, but it's a 100% race, so there's going to be 44 laps. Anything could happen, but we're aiming to try and maybe get towards the podium where our teammate Sebastian Vettel is. It's going to be a one-stop, which I was surprised at, seeing as it is a 100% race, but I guess that's unfortunately the kind of quite bland tyre wear we have with the 2020 regulation tyres, so we're just going to have to make the most of it and just kind of push flat out and try and get some enjoyment via that, rather than some kind of nice two-stop or aggressive strategy. So without further ado, let's get into this then. Our very first 100% race on the F1 2020 game, driving as Schumacher in a Ferrari at Spa. Fire lights are out, and we're underway from last place on the grid. Hamilton alongside us on that last row. Bit of a shaky, slow start, trying to get to the inside. Hamilton blocks us off. We're going to dive down the inside of him, though, and try and gain a few positions and gain an early advantage over the Brit. Up into P17 on the exit. Can we keep that ahead of Hamilton? Yes, we can, as he overtakes Kevin Magnussen. So a bit of a subdued, slow start, but obviously, being a 100% race, we've got a lot of laps to go, so we can be a little bit patient, but also up the hill, down the Kemmel Straight, you can see using the engine power to good use, the advantage we have against the other cars as well. Up the hill, you know, the amount of downforce we had compared to that Williams car was insane. And now we dive around the outside, and the braking power, stopping power, so much better in our Ferrari car versus the Haas and the AlphaTauri of Kvyat and Giovinazzi respectively. And so we're up into P13. I will say, an added caveat is at this point in the F1 2020 game, the patch to kind of nerf the Ferrari to properly make it realistic to what we've seen in real life has not come yet. So this Ferrari I'm driving is a little bit quicker than it probably should be in the game. But to be fair, we can just say that's the Schumacher effect. You know, it's quite nice to actually be in a bit more of a competitive Ferrari car driving a Schumacher, as obviously the Ferraris he drove were always very, very competitive. So we now make a pretty easy move on the McLaren and Racing Point there, around the outside, turn to the inside for the bus stop chicane on the Racing Point car, and a very easy pass on the McLaren in a straight line. A little bit wide though in turn one, so the Racing Point will have a little sniff on our rear end there as we go towards Rouge, so he may get a good tow. And at this stage of the GP, no DRS activated just yet, but obviously he can use the ERS overtake mode, as we're going to save some and use a little blip at the start of this straight, but then going to save some for later on in this Grand Prix, because even more so now in a 100% race, you have to really make sure you have enough ERS left over and play the long-term game. But as he now move through onto lap number 3, DRS is activated, and we have a purple last sector, so we're slowly but surely getting into some sort of groove, I guess you could say, in this Grand Prix, as we now close up to Verstappen, who qualified quite low as well in this Grand Prix, so he is also making his way up the order, like myself and Hamilton, but can't quite make the move in Rouge. But now we'll have DRS and also the ability to use overtake mode at the same time. So where we're going to go, we're going to dart to the right hand side. He's got DRS as well though, so Verstappen will be okay in a straight line, but we get the job done down the inside, but brake a little bit too late there, go deep, and Verstappen switchbacks us, and now we're side by side, Michael Schumacher versus Max Verstappen through the right hander down the hill. Now it's going to be very awkward to go the long way round, but we've got to try and make it work as we kind of feather the throttle a little bit wide on the entry, but then on the exit tightens up. We get the job done on the left, but Verstappen holds it beautifully round the outside, still neck and neck drag race down into Pouon. We'll get the job done with a squirt of overtake mode, and we've overtaken Verstappen then, and now we can power pass and hopefully not have to battle him too much more, and use the clean air to close up to the cars ahead of us, the likes likes of Pierre Gasly, Raikkonen, all kind of, you know, they're quite high up in this race, actually, to be fair. The Alpha Tower and the Alfa Romeo, lower down cars, you know, lower third on the R&D chart, technically, like if you look at career mode performances. So Gasly and Raikkonen doing a good job here, but we should hopefully get Gasly. It's going to be, very fine. We switch to the inside, little lift off, and what a move in the inside of Blanchimont there. Little lift off mid-apex, just to make sure we didn't make contact with the Frenchman, and in the end, big gasp of deep breath, and we made it work up into P9. Fantastic overtake, and now we can close up to Raikkonen on lap number 5, and all the time, even though we're making these overtakes and technically slowing ourselves down whilst going side by side, we're still setting personal best lap time, so just getting faster and faster. Like I said at the start, this is my very first 100% race on the F1 2020 game. Even my very first kind of 100% race in a long time on the F1 games, because in the latest kind of few F1 games, it's been very, you know, there's not really been much advantage of doing a 100% race. Like, you don't get much more action, to be frankly honest, in a 100% race, especially, as I said, unfortunately, due to the real-life tyres being so much more durable these days, you get one-stops even in 100% races, whereas back in the day, you know, F1 2011, 2012, 13, doing a 100% race meant you got way more strategy variation, whereas on this game and the last 2 games, unfortunately, it's been a rather bland affair of all you're doing is basically driving double the amount of laps. I guess also the added caveat to that is you have way more laps for there potentially to be incident safety cars, maybe some moves for the AI, so I guess it goes hand in hand in a way, but just my general thoughts on a 100% race versus 50. If you're ever wondering why I don't do many of them anymore on the channel, they're just not really worth the time to record, basically. But here we go now, dive around the outside of Ricciardo in a straight line. We weren't too advantageous versus the Renault there, because my engine was overheating, if you saw on the heads-up display, and Ricciardo actually gives a very good fight in this Renault. We're still going at it. I thought we would have kind of hooked like in sinker and got that move done on that right-hander after the Camel Straight, but no, instead we're fighting him just like we did with Verstappen, although the difference is able to squeeze him out on the left-hander with no name there before we go down the crest towards Pouhon. So up into P7 then. And so now, really getting a move on. We've got Perez in a bit of clean air, McLaren and the Renault, and then you can see on the minimap there's a massive amount of clean air. But Perez with a mistake on the rear end there. You saw his rear end wobbled, and so we go side by side into a Rouge, and we go around the outside, up the hill, and it's a fantastic camera shot and an even better overtake there on the Mexican, and we're up into P6 of the Belgian Grand Prix, and it's not even about a quarter done of this GP, so making very good progress. As you would imagine, though, that's kind of the pattern of modern Formula 1, with the top 3 cars being so much better than the midfield guys. It's very easy to make your way through, but then it's a bigger question of, can you then close up to the other guys? So we've got to try and close up to, you know, Albon, Vettel, Bottas. That's going to be a whole different ball game. And then also the question mark of, where is Verstappen going to be? Will Hamilton come back through? Right now, the kind of verses we're doing against Hamilton, we're definitely winning against Hamilton, but there's a long way to go in this race. But right now, as it stands, we're trying to overtake Sainz and Ocon. If we can, dive down the inside of Sainz, have a little look at Ocon, bit of a tap on the tyre there, and the Frenchman pushes us wide. We have a little second look, but Ocon chops us off, and that allows Sainz to get the switch back on us there, down the inside, as we unsettle the car on the rear end, and it wasn't the best racing line for us, so we're still now battling the Spaniard here, the man who's going to take this Ferrari car, obviously in 2021, alongside Charles Leclerc, but we've overtaken him, and we're up into P5, and now we move on to lap number 12. And hopefully this should be a slam dunk overtake on Ocon, as he wobbles a little into that corner, actually, you know, so he might be having some tyre wear there. And again, jockeying for position now, round the outside into bus stop. Can we get it to the next apex? Ocon squeezes us very much so. A little bit of contact made on the side pod, I felt, on my steering wheel force feedback. We open up DRS. Where is he going to go? Is he going to quite defensive? Yeah, pretty defensive there. We have a little look on the outside, but we're just going to kind of be patient, cut in a little bit tighter here, get the power down, overtake mode use. Rich Mix going to try the right, doesn't work out. Ocon really giving us a good squeeze, just like he did with Sergio Perez, I guess, here at the Belgian Grand Prix, when those two were teammates in Racing Point. But we're going to get the job done, hopefully, so you would say, on the Kemmel Straight. But Ocon really planting his car where he needs to try and make my job a little bit harder there, but eventually we'll get that done, up into P4 of this Grand Prix. 13 laps gone. Very good effort there, I would say, from last place on the grid. So we've got Albon in third place. Sebastian Vettel, my teammate, in second. Obviously, quite nice to have that kind of duo. Obviously, Schumacher and Vettel were decent friends by the time they obviously grew up. By the time Vettel grew up, obviously, when Vettel first started his karting career, Schumacher was already in F1, but it was quite a nice dynamic that those two became friends towards the latter stages of Schumacher's F1 career. But and then we've got Bottas in first place. So in terms of where we're going to get to as we make our pit stop here, you can see, as I've been talking about that lap 18, I reckon we could try and get Albon. Not too sure about Vettel or Bottas because they're going to be a little bit further down the road, but as it stands then, after I overtook Ocon, just pushed as hard as I could for 4 laps, then pit on lap 18, and you can see here now we're on that out lap, trying to do the best job we can, using a lot of overtake mode we did in sectors 2 and 1. Purple second sector, the best we've done so far this Grand Prix, so pushing hard to make sure we can get closer to Albon, use the undercut to good use. And into turn 1, you can see Albon just ahead of us on the minimap, and there he is. So we have closed up here. The gap is only about 3.2 seconds. It was about 6 before the pit stop, so we made really good use of the tyre wear and the pit strategy. But meanwhile, this is in Hamilton's world. Round the outside he goes of Raikkonen, I think that is, and just about gets it. Very fine margins on the front left, front wing of Raikkonen and the rear right tyre of Hamilton, but he gets the job done. But yeah, we've had a lot of action obviously for ourselves as Schumacher, but this is what Hamilton's doing now. So Hamilton's AI, a little bit of a slower starter compared to myself, but he is in the fastest car on the grid, so give him time and he'll make his way through. So he closes up now on the Racing Point car through Blanchimont towards the bus stop. Where will he go? The Racing Point goes very defensive and squeezes him so much to the curb there. That almost winced a little bit as Hamilton kept his foot in there. Fair play, gets the job done. Great exit off the last corner, and he's up the order. Now he's got the 2 Renaults of Ocon and Ricciardo going side by side into turn 1 there. You just saw maybe at the bottom of your screen, and they're still going at it, and Hamilton will close up and use that to close up to both Renaults. Round the outside now of Ocon, just at the back end of the Kemmel Straight. Doesn't quite get it done. He has to get it done at the second phase of the next section of the circuit. On the outside, great battle between Ocon and Hamilton, but Hamilton will get that then into the very understeering right-hander down the hill, and now his next target will be Daniel Ricciardo. So I think he slowly made his way into the top 8 there, or 7, with that overtake. Not quite sure where everyone is. I think there's a McLaren still ahead of Ricciardo. So as Hamilton closes up then through the bus stop, he's going to line this up maybe for the Kemmel Straight, I would say, because it's unlikely he'll make a move into turn 1. Yeah, he's too far back, and probably unlikely he'll make a move into a Rouge, but you never know. AI v AI, let's see how Hamilton does versus Ricciardo. Use some overtake mode potentially in the cockpit. Rich mix going, I would hope as well. Not close enough, anywhere near close really, as they get to a Rouge, but then up the hill through Radion now to the Kemmel Straight. DRS will be activated soon enough, and the Mercedes car should fly past the Renault. Yes, he does, as he goes quite aggressively on the left-hand side there. Left it quite late, being tucked up right underneath the gearbox of Ricciardo, but he's got the job done, and now he's got only Carlos Sainz to go, and then it's just a lot of clean air, and then there's where I am as Schumacher, trying to close up to this man, Alexander Albon. So back to our POV, that 26 over halfway done of this Grand Prix, trying to go down the inside. Albon locks up, we bang tyres, a mistake there from the Thai Brit, invites us in to the last corner, but I make a mistake myself on the rear end. It snaps out with oversteer, so you have to try and fight for another lap on lap 27, as tight as you want at the apex at turn 1, but then on the exit, Albon gets a good launch using a little bit of overtake mode. You can see fuel wise we've not got too much to use, so I need to be kind of wary of that and not kind of overuse rich mixes. That may come back to bite us. Same with ERS as well, as we're into single digits on ERS usage down this straight. DRS open. Can we get the job done on Albon? We're going to fake to right, go to left. The long way round will turn to the inside for the next corner, but we get on the curb a little bit. Have to lift off to make sure we don't get the rear end stepped out, but it doesn't matter. The rear end steps out anyway because we just don't get any turn in there, as I think we hit on the other curb as we enter that right-hander. So we have to try and fight for a second time now into this chicane at the end of the lap. Once again banging front left tyre to right front tyre with Albon there, but we get another switchback going, but we just can't get the power done. Like, I guess it's the heavier fuel. I guess I'm not used to it, but getting the rear end planted on that exit at Spa is so difficult. So you've got a slight little incline as you get the power on, and then it just doesn't want to grip up. But here we go. Good run towards Rouge. Not going to make a move. Just going to sit behind. But then second phase, he wobbles, and what a move. Round the outside. Through Radion that was. Kind of midway through the hill. That kind of second phase. Albin literally had a little bit of a high-speed kind of issue, and we were just able to get the car planted through there around the outside, and we're up into P3 now, the podium spot in the Belgian Grand Prix. But Hamilton now has arrived on the scene, and he's looking to overtake Albin. He's in P5 right now. I would say sooner rather than later it will be P4. Mercedes v Honda Power, Mercedes v the Red Bull racing car. Albin is a bit of a sitting duck there. He tries to squeeze Hamilton, but Hamilton is through. So this is it now. We're in P3. Driving is Michael Schumacher, and Hamilton is up in P4. And after many, many laps of this Grand Prix, we started off side by side, and now on lap 33 onto 34 with 10 laps to go, we may just be side by side once again as Hamilton looks to close up. And we've got to play this tactically because we are not in the faster car. He is in the faster car. So into turn one, going to play a bit of a wild fox move, seeing as we are Schumacher, and so go a little bit wide on purpose. Hamilton gets it down the inside. We're going to be neck and neck. He gets the advantage, but we're going to get the DRS, that means, onto this Kemmel straight. But that doesn't matter because we use overtake mode, and we're going to go side by side through a Rouge, up the hill, on the exit. So close. The tyres nearly touch just up the crest. Fantastic scenes here. Michael Schumacher versus Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari v Mercedes, but the Wile Your Fox plan works out for us because we get DRS there. Even though we're ahead of him, we get DRS, and so we're able to keep that head and maintain the P3, but for how long? Because I can already sense that Mercedes car is so much better than us in the corners, and it's just a matter of time before Hamilton gets the job done and fully booked in. But for now, we continue to fight. Switchback move into the last chicane. This time we do get a pretty decent exit. We both, actually no, he's got a DRS somehow, even though he was ahead of us. I guess he was behind the detection point before the last few corners, but it doesn't really matter because we're behind still at turn one, and that means once again we'll get the DRS on the Kemmel straight. This time not near enough to make a move and an amazing scene up the hill, but this time just nice and calm. Up a Rouge, up the hill, DRS open here. Going to use Rich Mix, but not actually any ERS because I want to try and save some for later on. But we get very close to the grass there as Hamilton does not want to yield the racing line he was taking there. So little tap of the grass on the right hand side. Very shaky stuff here. So this is becoming a really lovely battle with Lewis Hamilton driving as Michael Schumacher. Onto lap 36 though. Hamilton looking good. We go towards the middle of the circuit. We defend to the inside. He dives around the outside there. He's got the advantage. We're a little bit tightened up in the corner. We try and push him wide. He's on the curb. Get a good exit. ERS used, and we're ahead of Hamilton before we get to a Rouge. But I think crucially, unfortunately for us, I think Hamilton was behind us at the detection point, and so he's going to blast past us in a straight line on the left-hand side, and that may just be the nail in the coffin for us, unfortunately, there in terms of the race for P3, because like I said, Hamilton's in the faster car, and straight away you can see he's just pushing away every single apex because this Ferrari just doesn't have the downforce to compete exactly. It may have the engine power as it stands in the F1 game right now before a massive nerf patch, but in the corners for sure, we definitely are the slower car, and so I'm using ERS to try and close up, but it may be a bit of a futile effort. We move later into this Grand Prix, lap 41, and Bottas now is taking the fast lap of the Grand Prix away from Hamilton, but we're closing up. We've got some traffic in the form of George Russell, and that's actually a brilliant slingshot you saw there. I didn't really lose too much time going around the outsides of the young Brit, and we kind of used it as a nice kind of pull and slingshot, like I just said, to close up to Hamilton. We're going to try it again with more traffic here, get a bit of a, like, just a split-second toe off Grosjean's Haas car. Hopefully he backs out and gets out of the way, and we go around the outside of him, and all the time we're going quicker and quicker through Sector 2, purple second sector there. But as hard as we're pushing, it just looks like Hamilton may just have too much for for us onto the last lap of the Grand Prix. We're within 1 second at turn 1, but then the exit, he gets just that 1 or 2 tenths to stay ahead and out the DRS zone, using all the ERS, literally flying through green first sector, green second sector, so actually going as fast as we've done this entire race for a personal best lap time, and we're gaining and gaining. We've got no ERS left here. We're in low fuel mode as well as we go towards the last corner, make a massive dive, and we have a little look around the outside. Hamilton sees red in his mirrors probably, but it's not meant to be, and the low fuel mode kicks in, and on the last lap, right at the end, we run out of fuel and we trundle across the line for 4th place. But my word, was that an entertaining race. Pushing so hard every single lap for the last 10 laps there of that Grand Prix to try and catch back up to Hamilton after he overtook us. But he gets the drive of the day. He came from 19th to 3rd. We did last place to 4th place there. But all in all, it was still a fantastic, really fun race. Driving as Michael Schumacher in a number 32 Ferrari car, alongside Vettel and trying to go up against Hamilton. We had a great battle with Hamilton, with Verstappen as well. So thoroughly enjoyable race, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video idea. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.